when you're threatened, when you're at risk? How good could you be?
It's over! It's over! Mike Tyson has returned!
No hiding in my sport. My sport is a chamber of truth. You find out who somebody is.
Give me 6 minutes of your best.
Who the frick said winning is natural? No, that's taught. Go into the fire that's inside that ring. All the fear, all the threat, all the danger. You know, people think, oh, you're just facing a guy with a left hand. No, you're not. You're facing yourself. That's the magic.
What's going through your mind when you pull a gun on Mike Tyson? That's a scary thing to do.
You know what's scarier? Having an 11-year-old girl who had been told by him what he was going to do to her and not doing something about that and not stopping that.
I was wrong, man. I'm just happy to make my amends.
And I'm not saying I condone it, I'm good. I'm not proud of it at all. At all. No, I was going to do something about it and make sure that I did what I thought I had to do, protect my family at that time. So human nature is human nature. We get a chance to develop something called character. We use that word like we just throw it around like a bunch of pennies. It means caring about more than yourself. And that's what's still good about this world, is we still have people that care more about others than themselves. Look outside yourself. Look at what's important besides what you think is important. You can actually get to be a whole person, not just a rich person, but truly a rich person.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is London Real went all the way to New York City to ESPN studios to speak with Teddy Atlas, who's a legend in the boxing community. He trained 18 different world champions. He even trained Mike Tyson back in the day, and now he comments for ESPN and has for the last 10 years. It was amazing sitting down with Teddy because he speaks about fear. He knows how to deal with a fighter when they're about to go to the scariest place on earth. And he had some great lessons on how all of us can deal with fear, even if you're not gonna glove up. He also had some very interesting and serious things to say about Mike Tyson, how he thinks his record is 0-5. Yes, you heard me, 0-5, because he was never tested, and when he was tested, he failed. And it was amazing to see what Teddy's like as a father, who he is today, and all the things we can learn from him. I was super excited to sit down with Teddy and do it at ESPN Studios, and I know you're going to enjoy this incredible episode.
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Teddy Atlas, the American boxing trainer, fight commentator, and podcaster. Over your 30-year career, you've trained 18 world champions, including Mike Tyson and Michael Moorer, who you guided to the world heavyweight title in 1994. 4 years later, you joined ESPN's boxing team on Friday Night Fights, and you have commentated for 3 Olympic Games.
4.
You've also been inducted.
Might as well make it right.
You've also been inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame and the Staten Island Sports Hall of Fame. Teddy, welcome to London Real.
And the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
The International
Might as well
Boxing
get
Hall
that
of Fame.
one too. What the hell?
That's all good. Teddy, welcome to London Real in New York City.
It's good to be with you.
Thanks
Good
for
to be
having
with anyone who matches their socks with their tie.
You like that?
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you, man. I
Love
appreciate it.
You're doing good.
Well, thanks for having us at ESPN. This is a nice place here. You guys don't mess around, do you?
No, it's okay. It's not bad. You know, it's okay to hang out for a minute. For me, what makes good places, it's not the ambience, you know, and what's in a place. It's the people. If there's good people, I'll make it a good place. It'll feel like a good place, you know. And for me, that's what matters. You know, it's kind of goes back to those old sayings. You know, it's who's in the home that makes a home. It's the people in the home. It's the love. It's the care. It's the, you know, appreciation for each other. So I know, you know, you don't think about that in the workplace too often, but it, to me, it should be thought about any place you are.
Yeah.
You know, who the hell is there? that kind of, for me, you could put me in a freaking hole, you know, but if there's good people there, you know, somebody with a good smile and a good heart like you seem to be good, then you know what? The cave will warm up.
Yeah.
You know?
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about boxing today, but before I do, there was a big event here in New York City on the weekend, Madison Square Garden. It was the UFC, Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal.
My man, Masvidal.
Which you had on your show.
Yeah, we interviewed him.
Street Jesus, right?
He's the man. Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah, because he does it his own way.
Yeah, he does, right? And
I like him.
And I mean, it was a big event. I mean, I remember when it wasn't even sanctioned in this city. The President of the United States goes there. When you look at the UFC, what do you see? It's different than boxing, but it's still a combat sport. You interview guys like Jorge Masvidal. What are the differences, and what are the things that are also the same?
I have a bad back, so I'm just, when you talk UFC, it starts hurting. You know, listen, when you ask me that question, I see tough guys. Man, I see tough guys. And I see a tough sport, a brutal sport. People call my sport, boxing, my whole life, a brutal sport. But we don't hit you with elbows. Well, sometimes we do. It depends on the referee if he allows you to get away with it. But it's not supposed to be allowed. And everything else, and the gloves are bigger with boxing. So it's a tough sport. It's for tough people. And, but you know what? I laugh at these people who say, oh, gee, you know, oh, it's too tough. Life is kind of tough. It can beat the crap out of you, you know? So why not be able to be honest about it and say, hey, yeah, this kind of speaks to our instincts, to our beginnings, that we want to find out who we are. We want to know how bad we are, how tough we are sometimes, you know? So, you know, why pretend to have parameters when in the rest of the stuff in life where we're beating the crap out of each other, we don't have no parameters?
Right.
Right? Let's be honest. So what I appreciate about the sport, about UFC, about MMA, is that. And you find out who somebody is. You know, it's no hiding in my sport. My sport is a chamber of truth. You know, it comes to you. You know, there's other places out there in the world that, I guess, are places of truth, obviously, but it doesn't come to you. You don't find it out as fast as you do in boxing.
Right.
And
is that why we watch boxing?
Yeah, that's why people watch.
Because we want to see the human story and see how people react.
Yeah, but the thing I'll finish with the UFC is Dana White did a good job, has done a great job of marketing the sport, growing the sport. They've grown. They have really grown, and you touched on it. And part of it is because he's a dictator. You know, dictators, so I guess they're useful sometimes, as long as they're not killing people. You know, and he's a dictator. He controls all aspects. So he makes competitive fights. You have no choice. Hit the highway, baby, if you don't want to do it. Boxing, no. Boxing, you know, it's the Wild West. You know, there is no unilateral control, no uniform conformity where there's somebody saying, these are the rules, this is what you abide to, this is best for the sport. No. There's a bunch of freaking bloodthirsty promoters out there that are money hungry. Hey, they're okay guys. Other than that, you can have dinner with them. They're okay. They're making money. They put on good fights sometimes, but they're just worried about their own piece of land, their own piece of property. It's not like the NBA, the NFL, you know, MLB, where there's a national commission saying, these are the rules. This is better for the sport. No, it's about what's best for them and their piece of land. So that's why the UFC has grown so fast. And it has. It's grown really fast. Now, getting back to your other question, as far as why we are drawn. Yeah, you see all the actresses and actors come to the big fights. They all come. Why? It's like one of those Viking guys with the horn. Woo! You know, they all come. Why do they all come? And you're touching on it. You're right, because they want to see. They pretend. They want to see what real people do when real crap happens, when you're threatened, when you're at risk. How good could you be? And sometimes I think people, I more than think it, I feel it, that they want to be touched by it. They want to be touched by it, that maybe it'll be absorbed by them. Maybe some of it'll go into their veins, that they could be better, that they could watch these noble warriors, and when they do it right, that's what they are. They could watch them and say, maybe I could be better. Maybe my choices could be better, stronger. Maybe I could make better decisions the next time instead of making a weak decision and screwing somebody. Yeah, maybe I can be wholer. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like people go to Lourdes, to get the water on them, hoping it's going to make them healthier. It's going to heal them. They come to these fights thinking it's going to heal them a little. Right. It's going to make them a little stronger. Just by being around these men, these people, that can go in there, go into a ring, and just go into the fire that's inside that ring. All the fear, all the threat, all the danger. Go in there and face what they got to face. Face all their inhibitions. People think, oh, you're just facing a guy with a left hand. No, you're not. You're facing yourself. That's the magic. That's what people want to say, oh, this guy's facing, can I face myself someday? You're facing your inhibitions, your doubts, your insecurities, all the stuff that's been laid on you through the years that you're trying to get rid of, or you hope you could get rid of.
But you can't.
Maybe you can.
Maybe you can.
Maybe you can.
Yeah.
Maybe you can.
Maybe you can. And prove to yourself in that ring that maybe you can get over that stuff.
And you can.
And you can.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And that's what makes the sport special.
So you can teach that. Are people born with that will to fight? When things are down and the chips are down and there's no way out and the guy's tapping out and one guy doesn't tap out?
Oh, it can be developed. It can be nurtured. It can be aspired towards. It can be learned. It could be wanted. I talk to NFL teams. They ask me sometimes go in and do motivational talking. And the first thing I do is probably the coaches are like, I say, your coaches, great coaches, don't get me wrong, you've been in the business, they've come from sandlot to high school to college, they paid their dues, they know what the hell they're doing. They're there for a reason. But they always say to you, come on, we want to win. Winning is natural. No, it's not. Who the frick said winning is natural? You ever see a baby come out of the womb and say, I want to win? No, I want to survive. I want milk. I want warmth. I want a blanket on me. I want to win? I want to win? No, that's taught. That's taught, that's learned. That's grabbed at, chased after. But what's natural? I'll tell you what's natural. The instinct that's given to us by God, or whatever you believe in. I know that's a tough subject. So I'll just say nature. Can't argue with me. Okay. I'm usually not safe, but I'm being safe. So nature, what is natural? The instinct to survive. We all have it. But that ain't to win.
Right.
It gets in the way of winning sometimes. Because you just want to survive, you want to live, you want to breathe, and live in different ways. It don't mean that somebody's gonna, hit you over the head with a hammer, but you want to live emotionally. You want to survive emotionally. You don't want to feel the way some people can feel when they get depressed. This is real. So it's about avoiding things sometimes. Human nature is about avoiding some things that can threaten those things, that can threaten you physically, emotionally, spiritually, getting you out of the way. One time I'm talking to the New York Jets. Eric Mangini was the head coach. Smart guy, young guy. And matter of fact, they even put him on The Sopranos, called him Mangenius. I mean, so he was hot. And he brought me in to talk to the team. Him and Mike Tannenbaum, good guy too, general manager. And back in that time. And they brought me in to talk to the team. And so if I'm going to talk, I want some information. So I said, give me some info. Oh, we're not doing too good, All right, well, what happened in the last game? Well, we're not playing up, same old stuff. We're not playing up to, our potential. All right. Well, and what's going on? Well, last game, we missed a lot of tackles. Gotcha. All right, I know the basics of tackling, the basics. Tackling, you gotta have your head up, you gotta see the target, you probably aim for the stomach because everything else can juke you. Just like boxing, can juke you out of position, and you gotta see what you gotta tackle. Pretty simple, right? So I get in front of the team, start talking. I said, why you guys miss so many tackles? And I knew what it was gonna be. For the most part, the physical component of it, the physical excuse of it or reason of it, the head was too low. Because if your head's down, you could go this way, I don't see it, I miss you. Why was your head down? I said, let me give a little, expound on this a little bit from I'm not trying to be Vince Lombardi over here, but I understand fights, and you're in a fight because you're in there with something that can be a little scary, getting hit. So you're in a fight. So I do know about fighting, okay? I don't have to be Vince Lombardi. So that's, first of all, did anyone teach you to keep your head up? Yeah, I think they did. If not here, they taught you in Sandlot, high school, college, and now here. So, okay. Is it lack of experience? No, because you've been doing it a long time. Because if you're here, you've been there. All right, so we answered those things. Maybe, let's see, incentive. Maybe you don't have enough incentive. Oh, you guys are the only guys that don't have guaranteed contracts. MLB, NBA, everyone else has guaranteed contracts. You don't. You don't perform, pop, on the bus, out of here. So it's not that. So why is your head too low? Did you ever think that it's because human nature, Mr. Human Nature, that keeps us alive? That's the reason why we don't walk across the street and get killed every day, that we look to make sure a car ain't gonna kill us. Because human nature, instincts, tells us to look. We're scared. No one likes that word, but there's a form of fear right there.
And they were scared, that's why they weren't hitting.
Yeah, so when that moment, no one wants to hear that because the connotation to that is yellow. Somebody talk, so you push it away. You keep that wolf away from the door. Get out of here. But then you avoid what's real. How are you gonna solve something if you're pushing away from the door and you're not allowing yourself to understand what the frick it is? So now, here you are.
So you admit that you're fearful, and now we can work on the problem.
We control it because now we face what we gotta face.
How do you control your fear?
By wanting to.
And knowing you need to.
Yeah, that's what wanting to, knowing you need to. You know, that crazy word, discipline. Okay.
That's
okay.
nothing to do with fear.
Okay. But controlling yourself, saying that it's more important for me to face this than not to face it.
Right.
Because it's more important that if I face this, I'll feel the right way afterwards. The other way, I won't.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live with that feeling. I don't want to live with that truth that afterwards I'm gonna feel the way that comes to you, and then done. So I told him, I said, so what happens is, what are you trying to tackle? Trying to tackle a guy that's usually about 225, 230 pounds of solid muscle, that runs possibly a 4.40, that has legs on like your grandmother's oak table that you used to have Thanksgiving dinner at, right? Those oak tables, you don't want to get hit with one of those. And it's coming right at you. It's coming right. Guess what? I would duck too. So Mr. Instinct comes along, Mr. Fear, Instinct, to keep you alive, comes along and says, get the freak out of here. Don't see what's about to hit you. Just avoid it. Don't see it. At that moment, now you're aware of it. Now you can do something about it. Control the damn thing.
Right.
Stay with that wheel in the car. How many times you're driving? Really, you're driving a car And this could be an analogy for people. You're driving a car and you're going a little too fast. And there's almost a feeling, really, where the turns come too fast and it's getting a little out of control. You want to just get over here. You want to just let go of the steering wheel and be over here. You don't, because you'll crash. But you've got a feeling like, let me get over here. I don't want to be here. Hold on to the steering wheel. Keep driving.
Is this how you coach boxers,
Yeah.
talking about the fear? And you said before that the moment of the fight is an instant, and then you remember not dealing with the fear the rest of your life.
It's harder to quit than it is to fight.
Harder to quit than it is to fight. What does that mean, Ted?
What it means is the truth. It means that if you quit, you have to live with the ramifications and the understanding of that for eternity. If you fight, it's over within a second. A second. Do you know what a 12-round fight is? 36 minutes. What have you done in your life in 36 minutes? You've done
Watch a TV show.
I mean, 36 minutes.
Yeah.
For 36 minutes. And the moments come in moments. That's why they're called moments, by the way. So 30 seconds, you have a difficult spout. It's not all the fight, the whole fight. For 30 seconds, guys, for 30 seconds, you got to deal with that. And then it's gone.
Right.
And you give up for that 30 seconds, you got a problem, buddy. Because now you got real time on your hands. You have an eternity to live with what you didn't do or what you did. You gave in.
Are these the kind of conversations you'll have with a boxer to get their head around that fear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you don't know what's at the door, how are you going to deal with it? You got to know what's at the door to deal with it. You got to know what's there. If you don't know what's there, I mean, you know, again, you're hiding from it. You're avoiding it, and we all avoid things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah. You said life is like a fight.
Yeah, it is. You know, I talk to Wall Street guys. They ask me sometimes, come in here, let's have a little breath of fresh air. I don't know if I'm a breath of fresh air, but I'm something, I guess. And they said, no, let's change it up. Let's bring you in and talk to the CEOs. They flew me to California to talk to all these CEOs. You know, none of them had a nose like me. All right?
No one had a pretty nose.
They all had pretty noses, I guess, you know? And they were powdered up, whatever. And, you know, so I start talking about this stuff. And I say, I got to adjust my talk a little bit to this audience, just a little bit. I'm not going to change me, because what I say is what's real to me. It's life. It's fighting. We're all fighting for something. That's the first thing I say. We're all fighting for something. You know, it's just a matter of what. But we're fighting. We're in a fight. And if we're in a fight, there's certain things that are happening. And there's certain moments when, during a fight, you want to avoid that moment. So all of a sudden, I picked some poor schmuck. It was a poor guy. I mean, he's not poor. He's probably driving like 3, Rolls Royces. And because everyone in that room was supposed to be ultra successful. So I said, you, any of this, have you ever experienced where you're having a tough time, you have to go to a board meeting, and you're in between that board meeting, and there's somebody there you don't want to face. There's always someone you don't want to face, right? There is. Sometimes it's you.
Yeah.
But there's always someone you don't want to face. That's the fight. So I said, so what do you do? I'm telling you, when I said this, the room got like quiet. I think they were like, you know what I mean? Like, anyone catch me? I said, you walk down the end of the hall because you know that they're coming, and you stop at the water fountain, and you got the water going in your mouth, but you ain't drinking. It's just running in your mouth and running out. What are you doing? You're hiding. You're just waiting for them to pass down the hallway. Right? Yeah. The silence, that old saying, silence can tell you a lot, can be deafening. The silence kind of told me, I think I was right, what I was saying to that group.
This has metaphors everywhere. Did Customato teach you this?
No. Listen, I shouldn't say no so fast. He didn't teach me the articulation of it, or the wording, or the sentencing of it, phrasing of it. I'm half Irish, so they tell me Irish, kind of have a thing for that stuff. I don't know. My mother and my father was Hungarian. But what Cus gave me was the nuts and bolts of boxing as life. You don't move your head after your last punch, you get hit. So he gave me the nuts and bolts for the technique, for the teaching of it, the understanding, and then the psychology. That we're all afraid. That we're all afraid. And that, he used to say to me, here's the proof, my proof, Teddy. I said, all right, Cus, listen, I'm 18 years old. I'm all ears. You're great. I'm not. Let me learn. I'm mesmerized. I'm here.
Was he mesmerizing?
Yeah, to a certain extent. But you had to know how to tiptoe away from that a little bit too. Otherwise you might be one of these guys, and I'm just exaggerating, but what was his name? The piece of garbage, Jones, and Cus is a great man. That guy in Ghana or wherever remember when he had everyone drink the lemonade?
Oh yeah. So you don't want to drink the Cus Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I mean, listen, his Kool-Aid was okay, but you got to still understand, you still have to have your own sense of what makes sense.
Right.
Like people say, oh yeah, I'm the first to admit, he gave me the nuts and bolts, but then I grew a little bit on my own. I said, let me get rid of this. Let me keep this. Let me build on this. Let me find that. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, Cus was a great man. Cus was a special man, very special.
What made him special?
Because he was dedicated to one thing, fighting and understanding all aspects, all dimensions, the windows, the creep holes, the caverns, the little crevices. And that means the crevices of people.
Is it all psychological?
It's all weakness and strength.
Okay.
That's what
in
it
the
is.
brain.
Yeah, and because the brain moves this, the brain moves this. But, it's, I mean,
one of the UFC fighters, Darren Till, from this weekend, had an interview after, and he said, right before I walked out, I was thinking of any injury I could fake. This is a guy, is one of the top fighters in the UFC. He said that, and people were blown away. And they were like, what are you talking about? You're a champion. And Cowboy Cerrone says every time he goes out, he's thinking, why am I doing this? I must be out of my brain. Does that stuff surprise you? Or is
surprise me. I live with it. Surprise me. I mean, that's like saying if a weed in the garden surprised me. I mean, no, I expect weeds to be in the garden.
But the public sees these champions and we think they're all indestructible cyborgs,
Listen, they're human. They're human. They, with all the strengths and frailties of being a human. They, if not for their weaknesses, they couldn't be strong.
Explain that.
Well, first of all, they wouldn't be alive. Because it's the weaknesses of making sure that, you're aware of things that can scare you, that can threaten you, that can hurt you. Be aware of it. Be aware of it. I see a guy coming in here with something that don't look too good. I'm going to push you out of the way, and I'm going to
take the bullet.
Well, no, I'm not saying I'm going to take the bullet. The nature would be to let you take the bullet, right? We're supposed to be talking the truth here, but that's where character comes in. See, human nature is human nature. We get a chance to develop something called character. We use that word like we just throw it around like a bunch of pennies.
What does it mean?
It means caring about more than yourself. And that's what's still good about this world, is we still have people that care more about themselves, others than themselves. We never have enough. We never have enough, but we still have them. And we get reminded every once in a while, thank God. Because I get a little down sometimes. I say, it ain't looking too good. You know what I mean? It ain't looking too,
yeah.
But then you get reminded. Then you see an act of selflessness and you say, we'll be all right. Yeah. We'll be all right. But
so listen, I used to work on Wall Street, and I used to love watching that movie Wall Street. Yeah. And there's a famous line in that where, the young kid is having a really hard time, and one of the managers pulls him over and he says, look, kid, a man looks into the abyss. There's nothing looking back at him. And that is when man finds his character. And that is what keeps him out of the abyss.
You know, I mean, it's a work in progress. You know, it's kind of like a snowball, you know, coming down the hill. You know, it starts off small, but if it can keep going, it gets big. If you can keep developing through acts and through experiences in life, you know, the ability to look outside yourself, look at what's important besides what you think is important. If you can continue to garner some momentum like that snowball, you can actually get to be a whole person. You know, and that's a good thing. Not just a rich person, but truly a rich person. You know, and that's why you get people sometimes, you know, quietly they make money and everyone says, "Oh man, I wish it was them," and they're miserable. They get depressed. I mean, I know that. I know some of them talk to me, and they get depressed. They get depressed. You got millions of dollars. But they're not whole. You got to be whole. You got to have a chance to be whole. Money don't make you whole.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting back to what you brought up before, I'm so glad you brought it up. I can't believe to see people being honest about that stuff. But I mean, I remember Cuss telling me when I was a kid that there's a fighter in a waiting. Just a regular kid waiting in the dressing room. And what's going on? Well, one of the things in his mind, he's hoping, he's making deals. You know, you make deals. You know, I remember, listen, if you're going to talk, you talk to, you know, you got to be ready to, or shut your mouth. So I was a fool when I was a kid, and I got put in a place called Rikers Island. I remember looking through the windows, and I thought that these people were pretty, I don't want to say evil, but maybe pretty depraved in their thinking that they put a prison with kids in it, and some vicious kids, put it next to an airport, LaGuardia Airport. And so I remember my first night, I'm looking out this little postage stamp bars window, and I'm looking out to see planes taking off. But so you see them going, and then you lose them. And then, like, if you go all the way over here, you see them going up. And listen, this is a weakness, but we're talking about, right? If you're going to be strong, you got to talk about your weakness, so you know how to be strong. And I was just a kid, you know, and I was scared, even though I was showing I wasn't. But you know, what we show and what we are, two different things. But I was making deals.
Like what?
Ridiculous deals, like deals with God, deals that
Get me out of here.
put me on one of those planes and it can crash. I'm accepting that it will crash, and I take my chances.
Rather than being in Rikers.
Yeah, I take my chance. I know how people feel. That's why if I see a kid, you know, I run a charity foundation for 23 years now, where we help families that need help, that fall through the cracks. We do. We fly them out of state. If they have a sick child that their insurance won't support them and give them a program they need for the, you know, the treatment, or we'll put a handicapped bathroom in their apartment that they can't afford to put for an invalid child. Well, whatever it takes. Whatever. We'll pay for surgery sometimes. And and we run social programs. But I talk to a kid. I know if a kid is feeling depressed by, maybe the parents tell me something, and I want to talk to the kid, because I know that, again, like me, I'm not showing you how I feel when I'm in Rikers, but I'm thinking those thoughts. You hear me? You hear those thoughts? They ain't good. They weren't real good. And I know that, I know, they're scared, they're frightened, and they're real. And that kid's thinking that too.
Yeah.
That's it. I remember with my son, I have 2 beautiful children. I am so blessed. And now I have 3 grandchildren. I am so blessed. My daughter's a lawyer. My son works for the Oakland Raiders. He's the assistant director of scouting. I am so blessed. And they're good people. That's the thing. They're good people. And they're good parents now. And I remember my son was he must have been about, what a cute little guy he was. He was probably about 4, 5 years old, right? And he loved me. He loved all his family, but I mean, we had a bond, and he always wanted to be around me, and I had to be away sometimes. So when I was around, he'd grab, and because I'd be away in training camp with the fighters, and I'd be home, I'd be with him every minute, go to the park, play stickball, play baseball, play everything. I'd be the official pitcher for the whole neighborhood, just so he could play in a game. And, but sometimes, if he did something wrong, came the part where, as a parent, you have to be a parent. And maybe my wife, because it was hard for me, she might have to discipline him and say, no, you can't go to the park today. Because whatever, everyone makes mistakes, even kids. And, no, I want to go. No, you did something wrong. And I passed by his room, and the door was closed. And I heard him say something to himself. And he said, I'm bad. I opened up, I got so scared. I opened the door up immediately, grabbed him. I said, you're not bad. You're the best. You made a mistake. You're the best. You're the best. I love you. Because I knew. I just knew instinctively, innately. I knew from Rikers maybe, but I knew what he was feeling inside. I'm bad. I'm not good. I'm not worth. And that could lead to something that's dangerous.
That negative self-talk.
That could lead to something that's dangerous. We hear about kids doing things to themselves.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of that, and I'm in tune with that, and that's important. That's important. And with my foundation, we're in tune. It's one thing to write a check. It's another thing to know how somebody's suffering.
Yeah.
Just not that they just need a bathroom for their kid with muscular dystrophy, but how they're suffering because of that.
Yeah.
Privately, with no father, because a lot of our people have no fathers, no husbands there. And so, and
negative self-talk is something you really got to watch. Yeah.
But the thing that I was touching on was that you brought up about the MMA guy being so honest, saying I could fake an injury. So Cuss is telling me a story. And he's saying, here's this kid sitting in the locker room, right? And he's a fighter. And he's sitting there and you look at him and say, man, he's good, he's tough. I wish I was that tough. And inside, you know what he's thinking? Cuss said, Teddy, I'm 18 years old. He goes, you know what he's thinking? And I already fought, so I kind of knew. But I didn't talk about it. And Cuss says, he's thinking, like I was in Rikers, he's thinking he's making his deal and saying, listen, and he's a good person. He's not a bad person. This is important I say this.
Yeah.
He cares about people, but it's human instinct.
Making deals.
He says, I want to make a fire in the place. I don't want no one to get hurt. I just want a fire to break out over here where everyone will be evacuated and the show will be off. But I don't want no one hurt. Maybe a few people coughing, from this. But I don't want. I just want the fire, so I can get out of here, so I don't have to face this. That's a fighter thinking that, and so if a fighter can think that.
Yeah. What are people thinking on the streets?
Yeah.
In different situations.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story about me, and then I got a question for you, Teddy. So. The reason I thought about this is because I was watching you talk about one of the fighters you trained, and it made me think about my life. So I went to MIT in Boston. I got a great degree. I went to Wall Street. I was a banker,
Smart
a trader.
man.
Everything's going great, right? And in 2001, I started hanging out with some guys that like to party, and I started messing around with some drugs, and those turned into heroin, and it turned into an overdose. It happened to me in 2001. I lost everything. My best friend sacked me from my job. My girlfriend left me, and I was, twice overdosed, almost dead. I moved to London. I rebuilt my life back into what it is now. And I just started talking about this a couple of years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But when you're talking about, when I heard you speak about your thoughts on Tyson, it made me think about me. And it made me think that, yeah, I looked successful up until then because I had all the things going right, but I had never been tested. And I could have lost everything. I could have lost my life. I could have quit, Teddy. But when I saw that I didn't quit, I became so much more confident. And now it's some of the best days of my life is those low moments. And that taught me who I am today. And so that's what I got when you talked about how you thought Tyson was 0-5, because you said, okay, it's one thing to have all this stuff, whether it's a lawyer or a doctor or a boxer, but when you get tested, that's when you find out what's going on. Did I get the right message?
Yeah, of course you did. That's why you're here.
For people that don't know, can you explain what you mean by that as far as your take on Tyson and his record and what people can learn from that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Be glad to. Unfortunately, I have a PhD in that crap. Tyson, I don't have his record in front of you. You could pull it up, you could Google it. I don't know that it matters. But let's just say it's 50-5 or 47-5, whatever. To me, the real record is that he's 0-5. Oh, Teddy, how could you say that? Because those 5 losses represent the only time he was tested. The only time there was resistance. You don't know crap. You don't know diddly squat about somebody until there's resistance. Remember that word. You know all about it. And you do. And that's why you could do this stuff pretty well. But until there's resistance, until there's something to fight against, and there's something to overcome, you haven't been in a fight. You haven't won a fight. They were athletic exhibitions. Because, he was fast, he was powerful, he could run people over. And so they were displays of his athleticism, his skills. And they were extraordinary skills. I'm the first to say it. One of the greatest punchers ever in the heavyweight division with both hands. Like Mickey Mantle, a great switch hitter. He can hit your left and right side of the plate. And speed. What a combination, like Manny Pacquiao. That's what makes Manny so great. Great combination of speed and power. And Tyson had that with a big guy. But he didn't have what Manny had. He didn't have the, I don't want to say the capacity, because we all have the capacity. He didn't have the desire to go to those places, the wherewithal, the desire to go to those places, those uncomfortable places when they came. Because he never had to in life. He always found a way to avoid it. See, Holyfield was different. Holyfield wasn't as talented as him, but he had a mother. I remember him talking about that. Yeah, I've heard of that in Atlanta.
She used to discipline him, right?
Well, she had these things called switches. In the old days, it probably would have, somebody would have came after in those days, but she did a pretty damn good job. Those sticks in the back in the woodshed. When he did something wrong, I think sometimes she let him choose which one he was going to get in. You want this one or that one or this? There was a few of them. And she'd go to work. And he loves his mother for a reason.
Right.
Facing things.
Right.
You're going to do something, face it. Face the consequences, the ramifications. Face what comes with those choices. Be accountable. That's part of the problem in this world, by the way. We don't have time to get into all that. But people aren't freaking accountable. They just want. But be accountable. Be accountable for what you say you want. Understand. So Holyfield he might not have developed the quickness and the power that Tyson had, but he developed something much more important. The ability to face things. The ability to face something, to deal with resistance, to deal with difficult moments, to overcome. Tyson never got that. He never got that quality. Never developed that.
Could he have developed it?
Somebody would have to made him. Somebody would have had to be made him do it. But unfortunately, I'm not looking to knock nobody here, but on his way up, people were thinking about, here we are again, human nature. What's best for me? To make $300 million with Tyson, or whatever the hell, he made an obscene figure back then. You know, he was making $30 million a fight, whatever the heck it was. So do I make my portion of that money, or do I take a risk and make him face things that he might run away from me by making him face those things? Nah, I think I'd take the money.
So no boundaries and no rules, and he gets out of jail free. And
Yeah, and listen, I remember one thing that kind of resonated with me. I mean, I had him when he was 12 years old, but I remember
at 190 pounds.
Yeah, solid.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.